Okay, so apparently, I feel like every time I make a video or every other day when I make a video, it's always something regarding like layoffs within a particular like gaming company. And I believe not too long ago I talked about, Ubisoft cutting like 40 jobs or something like that. And then Annapurna Interactive basically just imploded due to mass walkouts. And we knew that Activision Blizzard, were making cuts, and they had actually made cuts like towards the beginning of the year because I believe it was announced back in January that they were cutting like 1,900 employees, and I actually think that happened back in January. That particular month, Microsoft axed like 1,900 employees, and apparently they're not done making cuts because now um, they're going to be laying off 400 workers or somewhere around that ballpark in terms of like people getting let go, and the layoffs are supposed to happen in California, in Irvine, and in Santa Monica, and this is obviously a move that's being made by the parent company, Microsoft Corporation, because they're trying to cut costs in the gaming division. Because obviously, Activision Blizzard is in a lot of debt right now, and some of their recent games haven't been doing too well. Probably with the exception of Overwatch 2, because Overwatch 2 I think came out like in late 2022, and towards the beginning of the year, it was reported that it had like 50 million active users, and it generated somewhere around the ballpark of like $225 million in revenue. I'm not exactly sure how much money it cost to make Overwatch 2, but obviously Overwatch 2 is doing pretty good, and 50 million active users after like a year and some changes. It's a really strong number, and it goes to show you that Overwatch is still very popular in this day and age. And we all know that Activision Blizzard had lost money on the Modern Warfare 3 game that came out in 2023, and it was probably the lowest rated Call of Duty game of all time. It was review bombed on Metacritic, and it's a game that a lot of people, including myself, really want to forget about. And a lot of people have high hopes for this upcoming, Call of Duty game, Black Ops 6. And I'm pretty sure it's something that's going to sell like crazy before the holiday season, especially like if the campaign's good and the multiplayer game modes is anywhere on the levels of what we got from the older Call of Duty games between the late 2000s and early teens. And yeah, I feel like Activision Blizzard laying off more workers is just a part of a larger, more unfortunate trend that exists in gaming, where it seems like corporations are becoming, I guess, more greedy, and they're looking to, make more with less, and as a result, they're cutting, more coworkers and all that. But what Activision Blizzard did is no secret because they had announced a while back that. Microsoft wanted to cut like 3% of its global gaming employees, and obviously, this is a part of the move that Microsoft wanted to make because it seems like Microsoft is going to be getting out of the console wars pretty soon. And I know this is something I've mentioned, in several videos in the past, but it's something that people have been talking about in general because um, there had been talk for quite some time, I'd say for at least a couple of years, that Microsoft's final console is going to be the Xbox Series X, and that they were going to focus more on cloud-based gaming. And I do feel like those rumors are definitely true, or there's some smoke to that fire because you look at what Sony did in their one of their state of play events, not too long ago, or I don't know if it was state of play, but I think it was when they did the reveal for the PlayStation 5 Pro and how you got to buy the disk drive, and you got to buy like parts that go to the basically parts we're supposed to have for free on the PlayStation 5 Pro. You got to pay for them, and it's like $700, and like a lot of people were upset about that announcement. And at this point, I feel like it's going to lead to a lot of Sony fans eventually boycotting the PlayStation 5 Pro. um, I do feel that, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make people purchase games digitally opposed to buying, hardware discs and stuff like that. And and honestly, that does not surprise me as well because we're evolving more and more as a society. And I do feel like, disk drives in some sense has become, obsolete. But at the same time, having, portable drives, whether it be a disc or a cartridge, that's been that's been something that's been a thing since like the 80s and the 90s. That's just something that has existed in gaming that should never ever change. And apparently, here we are in 2024, you got to pay for a disk drive and you're expected to buy things digitally opposed to, buying physical copies of video games and all that stuff. But, obviously that's just, that's something, that I can make a video on, on another day or what have you. But I do feel that, yeah, I do feel like, more gaming companies are going to be making layoffs. I do feel that more tech companies are going to be axing their gaming divisions. And this is not just a trend that exists in gaming. I read in another article, a few days ago that Disney had cut like 300 corporate staffers. And that was a part of a wave of layoffs that was going on. And, and yeah, I mean, it really makes you wonder like what's going on with the gaming industry and the entertainment industry where all these layoffs are being made, aside from, I guess, the economy being rough and just, I guess, I don't know, maybe there's just no need for um, that many employees, at a particular, um, in a particular division or a particular, industry or what have you. Maybe things are just declining in general, and as a result, it's had a ripple effect across multiple occupations, professions, industries, and a lot of people have been speculating that there might be some kind of great economic crash that's going to be coming in the future, and I hope that's not the case because I honestly feel like things couldn't get worse than what they were during the late 2000s when we had the recession back in the day. And people are saying that we're actually in a recession right now, but I don't see it being talked about heavily on the news or anything like that. But but yeah, I mean, I feel like Activision Blizzard laying off 400 workers is just a part of a larger trend. And I do feel like the gaming industry is going to be different if Microsoft is no longer in the console wars. That just leaves Sony and Nintendo. And Sony knows that they have the most popular game system in the world in the PlayStation 5, and they're in a position where they could do the same thing with the PlayStation 6 that they're doing with the PlayStation 5 Pro, where they could put out a console that has no disk drive and basically everything has to be digital. And God forbids it gets to a point where you have to have a subscription service for the games and stuff like that because they have all these online passes, whether it be PlayStation or Xbox, where you gotta subscribe. And it's something that I don't know. It's at first it was cool, but I feel like it's starting to piss people off a little bit since the cost of living and everything else is going up. People just don't have that kind of time to invest in gaming because in order to have a decent like game experience, you have to buy subscription passes for whatever console you own, and then you have to buy a game. You got to buy the DLC, and you just have to pay for so many things that were once free when you bought a game back in the day, whether it be the 80s, 90s, or the 2000s. You bought a disc or a cartridge, you had the full game, and that was that. And obviously, that started to change like towards the late 2000s, early teens, and it's only gotten worse since then. But it doesn't surprise me all these layoffs are happening because a lot of casuals are losing interest in gaming in general, and it seems like the only like video games that people really care about are IPs that were created back in the 90s or the 2000s, back when gaming was still very popular. And and even though this is something that um that is going to happen, in the near future with all these layoffs. And, I feel like this is not going to be the end. I feel like Activision Blizzard's going to end up, axing more jobs in 2025. And, and I do feel that, depending on how they do financially with their, upcoming game, Black Ops, 6, there's a lot riding on this game. I feel like, it's definitely going to affect, what move they're going to take in 2025 in terms of structuring, their business. And it really depends on, you know, what they get on the earnings call, like in terms of like getting a report and what have you. But we have no idea, what to expect. I feel like expectations for this game is like, really high, and that Activision Blizzard kind of needs to step up the quality of their games, because we all know that Crash Bandicoot 5 was supposed to be a thing, and then that got axed like years ago. And I don't know if Crash Bandicoot, the IP is necessarily dead, but I know that the Crash Rumble game was just awful, and that it had like one of the lowest like active player count like in like modern gaming history. So it's like, I don't know. Um, I feel like, there's still money to be made with Call of Duty, and there's still money to be made with Overwatch, and they have plenty of other, profitable IPs. I think they have, Diablo, 4 as well, and it's something that people don't even talk about that much anymore. But I feel like a lot of the games that came out in 2023, even though they were good, they were overrated, and you don't really hear much about it, this year. And people are already looking forward to upcoming games that's supposed to be coming out in 2025, like GTA 6 and Metroid Prime 4. Um, two games that have the potential to be the best, video game of the year in relation to 2025. And and it's a good thing that Activision Blizzard is, releasing Black Ops 6 this year, because they knew for a fact that in terms of popularity, it's not going to be able to compete with GTA 6, no matter how woke, that game's probably going to end up being. But, um, but yeah, I found this news rather intriguing, yet unfortunate for those who work with Activision Blizzard up in Cali. But I don't know. Hopefully, things will get better from here on out, and hopefully, their upcoming Call of Duty game does way better than Modern Warfare 3 did this past year.